Today we're going to unbox, set up, and test drive the Simagic Alpha Mini wheelbase and the Simagic GTC wheel. Welcome everyone, I am Lorenzo and this is LDFR SimRacing. If you find this video useful, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. And finally, I truly hope that you enjoy this video. And alright everyone, so I got the GTC bundle from Simagic. That means that I received the Alpha Mini wheelbase and the GTC wheel. Let's see what is inside. So we've got the warranty card, so that is nice to keep. The first thing in the middle of the packaging is the absolutely beautiful and pretty heavy wheelbase. Matte black, 4 mounting holes on the bottom, 2 mounting holes on each side, power entry, USB entry, logo on the top side, product information in the back, front mounting holes, beautiful carbon fiber finish around the rim of the base. All pins and connectors here are actually flush with the tip of the attachment mechanism, which also is great because you can't really damage anything that way. And yeah, it just looks and feels extremely solid. I love the minimal look of it, the low profile of it. It's quite small, which is great. This is gonna look great on any rig. And yeah, let's see what else is in here. So power cable, the power brick, a European cable extension, the USB cable, and the mounting bolts. And so here it is, pretty straightforward. I'm super excited to mount it on my also brand new GT1 Evo from SimLab. And yeah, I will not go into much depth in the technical specifications of this wheelbase, as you can easily find very in-depth and very well explained reviews about the technical specifications of this wheelbase, but I will include the basics down here in the video, so that if you're considering it and you want the basic information about this wheelbase, you can just quickly take a look at that. Let's move on to the wheel. And here is the wheel that came along with this bundle. So this is the GTC wheel. And the reason why I opted for this wheel is because I wanted a hybrid in between a Formula wheel and a GT wheel. And I believe that this wheel will be great for Formula driving due to the shape, but will also be good for GT cars or Cup cars or other types of cars, because it is still a pretty wide rim. So yeah, let's see what's in there. We've got the warranty card. We've got a set of stickers, which you can, I suppose, use to customize the buttons on the wheel. An installation tutorial, stickers, which is a really nice addition. And here it is. Wow, it's so beautiful. So right off the bat, it just looks so beautiful. Carbon fiber finish around the button area. Let's see how the buttons feel. There is a good click to them, and they feel really, really nice. The Alcantara leather on the rim also feels great. the paddle shifters have an extremely satisfying click feeling, and they're not too loud actually. They've got kind of like a suppressed sounding mechanism, which is really, really nice. I got the version with the hand clutches, so one for each side, which is also really nice. The matte red thumb encoders have a nice solid click to them as well. We've also got two thumb encoders right here in the center of the wheel. So those as well, I think they feel cold to touch. So I'm fairly sure they're made of aluminum, which is really, really great. There's two analog buttons here as well, which can also be clicked. So these two buttons, these two, and these two buttons are RGB buttons. So they can be lit fully customizably using the software. At the back, the attachment mechanism, again, matte red, Simagic logo. It looks really, really beautiful. And this is it, the Alpha Mini GTC bundle. I am beyond excited to mount this onto my rig. Speaking of mounting, the Alpha Mini is actually not compatible with the GT1 Evo. So I've got my GT1 Evo sitting right over there, and I will proceed to mount it and I will show you what I did in order to make it fit. So these two holes will match with those two holes. However, there are no holes originally in the mounting plate to match the holes in the back of the wheelbase. So I drilled using a 6 diameter tip these two holes that will hopefully match with the two holes at the back, so that I can just bottom mount it. Now, in order to have the right measurements to make these two holes as accurately as possible, you can check out the schematics online, but I will also include a screenshot of the exact drawing that I used to make these holes as accurately as possible. And just like that, it's mounted safely in place. This thing is not going to go anywhere. And as you can see, the two holes at the back both lined up successfully. And yeah, so if you're thinking of getting this combination, you will not need to purchase the front mount. As you can see, there's front mounting holes, but it will not be necessary to purchase and spend extra money on a front mount. However, I understand that not everyone might be comfortable with drilling holes into their brand new rig. So there's also another way to fix the Simagic Alpha Mini on the base plate of the GT1 Evo without drilling holes, and that's by using one of your leftover angle brackets. So what you can do is you can use, so you would bolt it at the bottom to the two front mounting holes, and then you just ignore the back. What you do for the back is you use a corner piece, as you can see, with a washer and a bolt on each side. The bolts that you'll get with the wheelbase will be fine. You might even have bolts that came with the rig that might work for this. And yeah, with two bolts and a washer, you can very well fix this in place using a corner piece. You have to remove the those little dents so that it's flush with the wheelbase and with the holding plate. But you can remove those using a flat screwdriver, and you can fix it just like that in place on each side. So one on the right and one on the left, and you'll be set. And alright, so we have the wheelbase properly secured to the rig. Now I will test the attachment mechanism. So first things first, let's make sure that the pins that are on the inside of the release mechanism match with the pin slots that are on the wheelbase. So I have set the slots in the wheelbase on the straight position. So I believe this is when the slots are all the way on the left, so pointing westwards. And now I will make sure that my wheel is straight, and I'm just going to apply a little bit of pressure. Feels solidly in place, and if I try to move it up or down, left and right, I feel zero flex, or at least a very negligible amount of flex, which is also really great. The wheel as well does not flex off of the wheelbase. There is basically no blade, so I'm perfectly sure that this wheel will handle the 10 Newton meters of power of the wheelbase just perfectly. And to pull it out, we're going to very simply hold the red quick release mechanism like this at the bottom and at the top, thumb at the center of the wheel, and just pull back and slide it out. Extremely simple, extremely effective, and also very, very satisfying. With that done, I am beyond excited. I am literally impatient to fire this up and try it in the simulator. But first, let's quickly take a look at how the software works for this wheelbase and also for the wheel. Alright, software. Let's see what we have to do. First things first, head over to the simagic.com website. Once you're on Simagic's website, go over to the support tab in the top menu, enter the download center and download the SimPro Manager Beta. It's a zip file. Once you've got it downloaded, open it up, extract the executable file and install it. Once you've done that, you will have successfully installed the SimPro Manager Beta, which is where you can manage all of your Simagic devices. As you can see, I've got my wheelbase connected to the power and connected to my PC via USB. And in fact, as you can see from the SimPro Manager Beta homepage, both my wheelbase here and my wheel here are connected. As you can see, there's a green light and it says connected. Here you can also manage pedals if you have Simagic pedals, as well as a shifter. But the first thing that you will want to do is you will head over to the devices tab. So when you first head over to the devices tab, it will not look like this. You will instead have a prompt which will ask you to update the SimPro Manager. Do the update. Once you do the update, it will look exactly like this. I've already done the update, so mine is already the latest version. And at that point, you will be able to edit all of these different settings, whether it's basic settings, vehicle settings, or mechanical settings. If you're not sure what each thing does, you can check out the description in the question mark next to the setting name. And yeah, my understanding is that this is all quite subjective. It's whatever you feel works best for you. For me personally, I had no idea where to start. I mean, I knew that I wanted to run it at 100% total force and have only a little bit of smoothness because I wanted to feel as true as possible without it being too notchy. But so what I did is I actually signed up to the Discord channel of Simagic, and here under the settings tab in Alpha Mini settings, I was able to find plenty of community recommended settings from other users, and I looked for a setting for iRacing which had
some positive feedback, and yeah, I found my settings there basically, and this is what I ended up with. So these are the settings with which I am going to test my new wheel and wheelbase on iRacing in a moment. Here you can also access the wheel settings. So as you can see, there are 40 inputs, and here you can test whether your inputs are working fine. So as you can see, I'm just pressing random buttons and they're being detected by the software. And you can change the layout of the buttons down here, and also change the RGB backlighting. For each button that has that feature, you can change to 8 different colors, or even just turn off the lighting if you don't want it. Honestly, that's all I did. All I had to do was that brief update in the devices page, but otherwise everything else was fully calibrated. I didn't have to do any sort of weird calibration things or holding buttons in, or yeah, it was all very automatic, all very easy. In the Games tab, you will be able to launch racing games directly from the SimPro Manager beta, and therefore automatically also loading the settings that you may want to have for your wheelbase, specifically for the game that you're going to run. As you can see from the home here, there are several presets that are already made for you per game, but I just, like I already said, went to devices and just set up my own using the tips that I found on their Discord channel. Finally, if you're unsure whether or not you've got the latest firmware, go to the devices tab and click on the wheel cog on the top right, and you will see here your basic information, your firmware version. So as you can see, current version V156, and the latest version that I've got installed is V156, so I'm fully up to date. It was really that simple. There was nothing else to it. I really didn't have to do anything manually, no weird tinkering, no weird button combination pressing, nothing. I just downloaded the SimPro Manager, went to devices, did the update, and that was it. Without further ado, settings-wise, I am finally ready for the moment that I have been waiting for so badly. Let's jump into iRacing. And alright everyone, so I tested the Simagic Alpha Mini and the GTC wheel on iRacing in the IRO4 at Road Atlanta. And disclaimer, this is my first direct drive wheel. So for me, this was an awesome experience, and truly I couldn't fault it. It was just a wonderful test drive, and honestly, for the whole time, I was just grateful to be able to have a direct drive wheel, and I really truly enjoyed every moment of it. It was just great. I come from a T300 RS, which, don't get me wrong, is a very, very nice mid-level wheel, belt-driven, 4 Newton meters of force, but this direct drive, 10 Newton meters of force, it was just something else. I mean, off the bat, as I rolled out of the pits, I could feel road textures, curbs, weight shifts, lockups, grass, everything, just more. Which is exactly what I was expecting given the extra force and the extra detail that comes with it. But what I truly loved the most is how when the car was losing grip, or when the rear was like about to step out and the car was about to spin, or the shifts of the weight of the car from left to right, from front to back, I could just feel that more, because overall the car just felt heavier. It really just felt like, and it's difficult to describe, you know, this feeling without actually, you know, trying it, but I really just felt like I had the weight of the car in my hands. And because of that, I could make less mistakes, because when something was about to step out, whether it was understeer or oversteer, I could counter that. I could counter that much more effectively than I could with my T300 RS, so I felt like as I was driving, I was making less mistakes, or when I was making a mistake, it wouldn't end up in a spin, because I could prevent that spin from happening much more easily. Driving on the limit was easier because I just felt more confident and I felt more in control, and I think that ultimately what you want to achieve with your direct drive wheel is that feeling of being in control. I think that's why we want good force feedback for, and I feel like even on this test run, and even with, you know, kind of settings that I just found on Discord, I was having that, and it was just a great experience. Speaking of the wheel, the ergonomy of the wheel is just great. It feels so good around your hands. The slots for the thumbs are big enough, you can really wrap your hands around it. The shifters are so crispy and satisfying to use. It has just a premium look and a premium feel in your hands. The buttons are easy to reach. I mean, the thumb buttons are the ones that have to be easy to reach, and I could reach them easily. Everything else has the right size and the right feel to it, so that if you have to take your hand off of the wheel momentarily to spin like a rotary button or like a thumb encoder, it just works like very well. And finally, the rev lights on the wheel were probably one of my favorite features, because they synchronize perfectly well with the car that you're driving. Well, at least they did with the IRO 4 in this practice session. And yeah, it just adds so much more immersion to have the rev lights in. I also no longer really have to rely on having them in the game itself, on the dashboard of the car in the game, which means I can get rid of that steering wheel, and that also adds to the immersion. So I was a huge fan of those, and they really worked super well for me. So overall, I can truly say that I am so happy with my purchase. I am so excited to dive deeper into the settings and try to fine tune it in a way that it's perfect for me. I am extremely happy and very looking forward to putting as many hours as possible into this wheelbase, and by all means, once I have more experience with it, I will probably upload another review down the line where I can actually offer a bit more in-depth information about the operation of this wheelbase and this wheel. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you found some interesting or insightful information in this review. If you thought it was useful, by all means, consider leaving a like, consider subscribing, and soon I will upload a video of my first race in my new rig, so stay tuned for that one, and as always, take care and see you in the next one.